Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we are going to preview the rest of the Who's Number 127 card. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined with my co-host,
Josh.
How you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great.
Dude, you threw me off. So we're about to record the show, and some news popped up. We got some more names for CJI. We're going to run through some of those in the news section, and Josh got me laughing, and then we did the intro, and here we are. So, that's all. Let's move into it. Last week, we talked about Nick Rodriguez versus Kaynan Duarte. Miranda and I kind of broke that match down. It's a rematch. If you want to hear an in-depth preview on some of the history behind that match, why it's interesting.
Listen to last week's episode.
Listen to last week's episode. That's where it is. I'm gonna need some thoughts from Josh because I always love your hot takes. I made a hot take pick last week on who I think is going to take that match. So you can listen to it there. But it was a Josh hot take, I thought.
Josh hot takes should just be, you should.
Which they're right. They're
you should
right.
compile all of them, and I can almost guarantee you that I'm like 80% of the time I'm wrong.
Yeah, but when you're right, it's impressive, and you've made a couple of picks that are just been like, that's a wild pick that shouldn't.
You walked outside in the dark and you didn't step in dog shit.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. So this week in news, Full Grappling has a really good article out that is all of the announcements for the teams for CJI 2. So Craig Jones Invitational 2
Well,
is going to run
anyway. But
yeah,
yes.
is going to run again this year in August. They're running it in conjunction, not conjunction, in agreement with. What's the word I'm looking for?
I think conjunction was the right partnership.
Partnership is a better word because conjunction is like the same time. They are running it as a quintet event. Josh and I love quintet. We were breaking down the first quintet together, and every other quintet since then. We love quintet. I think it's a great format generally. They've made some changes to them in the last couple of years that I think it's been awesome. Polaris kind of uses a similar format with their squads events. We love them. Right now, as it is for CJI, it is running as a quintet event, and it is an 8-team event.
Quintet
style system, which basically means that what I think this is going to run like Subversive, where your 66 takes on their 66, takes on their 77. I think they're going to run it like that, based on that they're fielding weight classes like they are for ADCC.
I mean, quintet didn't necessarily run like that, though. You could go up against different people. It would just change the length of the match.
Yes, if there's more than like a 20 kilo or 10 kilo weight disparity, they would change. The smaller person could elect to make the match shorter. But for quintet styles, typically for quintet events, you are given a weight cap. And you have to have all of your guys keep under that cap.
Under the X amount of...
For Subversive, they usually run it where it's like a number of weight... Polaris Squads does the same way, where it's like, here's your guy at 77, here's your guy at 88, where it's like you have a roster of people at different weight classes,
right.
Whereas historically, quintet has been done in Japan, where it's the Wild Wild West.
And it's like, your cap is 440 kilos. And that's like...
Cool, that's one Josh Barnett, and then 4 Mikey Musumeci's. Yeah. So this, it may run kind of like Aiga as well, where it's like it's very similar, where you have a defined weight class, and then you have each person go against the person at their weight class. Given there are 8 teams, that would be sort of my guess of how they're going to run it. I think honestly, it makes a lot of the matchups more interesting and more meaningful. It makes some of them less interesting and less meaningful. But overall, I kind of like it because it gives your 66ers, generally speaking, more of a fighting chance. They're not going to have those wow moments like they have sometimes, but they're usually on the receiving end of those wow moments. And so I like that.
I like when Craig Jones beat both the Martinez brothers back to back.
Yeah, and then where Gio Martinez guillotined Heisen Rita.
Yes,
where it's like that where you get those wild back and forth moments.
Yes.
But generally speaking, those are like the outliers. It's usually a guy like Kaynan Duarte smashing Pato, and we're all sad. Like, hey man, that's not
nice. Don't
that's
do that.
Not chill. So announcements. We have a full team. We have a full right now team 10th Planet. For under 66 kilos, we have Gio Martinez. He also just got announced for a match for Mikey Musumeci. We'll talk about that here in a second. At 77 kilos, we have Alan Sanchez. Under 88 kilos, we have PJ Barch. Under 99, we have Ryan Aiken. Plus 99, we have Kyle Bain. And the coach is Eddie Bravo for that. For New Wave, we have under 66 kilos, Dorian Olivares. We have the 77 kilo is going to be their inter-squad trials winner. So they're going to run, a couple of the teams are running essentially little trials events. And The winner of that is going to take that slot. For 88, it's Luke Griffith. Sorry, it's Giancarlo Bodoni. Under 99, Luke Griffith. Over 99 is Big Dan, coached by John Donaher. B team, we only have Coach Dima Montemuna. I cannot get Dima's name. Moravani.
Okay, ready?
And
Dorian, 66.
For Team New Wave, yes.
No, or not Dorian.
Gio?
No, for B team. Who he fights mostly now?
Damian Anderson?
Damian Anderson.
Or Ethan.
Oh, yeah. Ethan could also be 77, so we wouldn't have to cut. 88, J-Rod.
J-Rod.
Under 99.
Also J-Rod, no.
Who's the Australian guy?
Craig Jones?
No, not a different Australian guy.
You're killing me here. I didn't know
all the tattoos. You know who I'm talking about.
Joseph Chen?
No. Ooh, that's 77.
Yeah, that's probably 77.
No. He's the bigger guy. He's got a beard. It's killing me.
I'm looking at it now.
Kaynan beat him at ADCC 2024 in like the first round of absolutes or something like that. I'm blanking on it right now. Plus 99 if he's going to be on the team. Nicky Rod.
Yeah, I think so.
I just built their team. You're welcome.
Yeah. That none of that is announced. That is just Josh's guess for the team. What has been announced has Team Australia and Asia. It's under 66 kilos is their wild card pick, which I kind of like. The wild card picks, I went back and forth on DMs. No one's quite sure exactly what this means because it's a little vague. What it seems like is this is a wild card. Like, hey, man, you can pick from anywhere in the world, any team that's not your team. Pick a guy that, hey, man, your team doesn't have a good 66er that you want to use. Go take a checkmat guy or an Atos guy or a B team guy or a New Wave guy that you can come to your squad and you can take him because your team needs that guy. I like that. It allows teams that can field a good team, but maybe missing one critical slot, the opportunity to be like, hey, you're really good. Bring this guy in. Bring a guy from Unity in that maybe Unity doesn't have a team in this, but you can go bring a guy,
for sure,
Paulo Meow. You can go bring Paulo Meow if you want to because he's a phenomenal athlete. Under 77, we have Levi Jones-Leary. Under 88, we have Lucas Kennard. Under 99, we have their trials winner. Plus on 99 kilos, we also have their trials winner for Australia and Asia. It's coached by Lachlan Giles. That is the only team we have. We have Team Americas. We have Team Europe announced. Team 7 and Team 8. We have no idea what teams those are going to be. But overall, again, it's shaping up. We're starting to get full teams. I like where it's going. I'm going to be very excited to talk about it the closer we get to it. But I think that is all we have. We have one more piece of news.
Mikey versus
Gio Martinez got announced this week for Fight Pass Invitational. I think it's a rematch. I know it's a rematch.
It is a rematch
from ADCC, Road to ADCC. It wasn't 2019. I think it was 2022. Is that right or is that wrong?
Thinking. It was at Who's Number One.
It wasn't Who's Number One.
And that's when Mikey got all pissed that he said he was being disrespectful.
And he was we didn't deserve his black
belt.
I think is what he said. And
by
then,
the way, the guy I was talking about for under 99, Declan Moody.
Declan, he can't make under 99.
He's certainly under 99 is 219. Why not?
I don't think he can make that. I think Declan is a brick shit house of a man, and I don't believe he can make that. But again, he could. Yeah, Declan. I like Declan. He could make that. I don't think he can make that, but I would love to see him do that. Heisem Rito would be fun if he's still a B team. I don't know if he's still a B team or not. Again, they have
That's plus 99 though. He's big.
Oh, he is big, isn't he? Nicky Rod makes the cut.
Yeah, right.
Probably not. So that's it for news. Gio got announced for versus Mikey. We kind of talked about it internally. We'll preview it as it gets closer to the event. We're all kind of I'm not super jazzed. I think there's a bunch more interesting matches to make with Mikey. Mm-hmm. Again, given that we've seen the matchup before, Gio has not had an enormous amount of super high level success in the last 2 years, and Mikey has been the champion of one. But again, very different worlds. But it's an odd rematch to make, given that the first match was pretty clear, and then the career trajectories have kind of differed a little bit. So it's odd. Again, I appreciate that that it's another high-level guy, but it is an interesting matchmaking decision, we thought.
2021 was the match.
It was 21, so it was before ADC. Oh, it was the middle year between them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So, sorry, I can't find the card for this. Here we go. Okay, moving into the show. Now, moving on to the preview section. Again, we talked about Kaynan Duarte versus Nick Rodriguez. Josh, do you want to give me the quick overview? Because Miranda and I talked about all the history and the lead-up and the first two matches and the difference in the who's number one rule set versus ADCC versus fight to win. What are your quick and dirty thoughts on this matchup? Because again, I'm always curious. You tend to make interesting picks. I like your picks.
Kaynan versus Nicky Rod, the two matches were kind of back to back. Like I think 2 or 3 weeks separated.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm not off on the mic. Yeah, 2 weeks before.
One was ADCC, obviously. The other one was fight to win.
Yep.
And they kind of both went the same way, right?
No, so the first one...
Did he get submitted in the second one?
He got submitted in the second one at Philly in like a heel hook and a heel hook transition. Again, you're thinking back like 6 years. It's been, again, this is... So I didn't preview Josh. I didn't tell Josh that I was going to have him preview this, so he's going off of the Mind Palace. It was like a variation of a heel hook in the Philly one, and the ADCC one was full length and points. Yeah. It was like a 1 point win at ADCC, 3 points, and then he gets 2 stalling back points.
We just watched it.
Yeah, so 3, and then he gets 2 negatives, so it's 1.
Both of the gentlemen are different now. This was 7 years ago, 6 years ago,
6 years ago, yeah.
6 years ago, roughly.
Yeah.
They're both different. Kaynan has taken some pretty serious losses. So is Nicky Rod.
Mostly Victor
Hugo. Yes, he also lost to Gordon.
Yeah,
he messed up his foot though.
He did.
I think Nicky Rod takes us. I think he's going to. If Kaynan has worked on his cardio, it will go to decision. If Nicky Rod exposes that he did not work his cardio as much, he will win by face crush. But he'll rear naked choke him.
Okay.
He'll rear naked choke his face.
That's kind of I picked rear naked choke last week, but I just think the who's number one rule set works. Again, it's Duarte as well. Duarte could absolutely sit on top of Nick Rodriguez, but I think the rule set favors and the larger depth of activity that Rodriguez typically tends to play, and Duarte tends to get a little tired. We saw that in the Luke Griffith matchup.
Saw it with Muragali.
Yep, as well.
You never know. We briefly, it got brought up, and I was like, are we going to see getting ready for ADCC Kaynan, or are we going to get off ADCC Kaynan?
It's kind of like we have a couple champions. Like Bard Bodoni looks the same way. Like ADCC, that dude is a different animal.
It's hot and cold.
That dude is a different animal. And
although he's won a whole lot more than he's lost as of recent years. Bodoni, I'm speaking of.
Yeah.
Well, same thing with Kaynan, but Kainan's definitely taken the bigger losses.
It's also something we talk about. We don't talk about a ton on the show as much as I kind of think we should. The tournament that you beat a guy in matters because the level of prep that someone can put. Like you can't stay in peak physical shape all the time. Like that's why guys do worlds camps.
I mean, you can.
Well,
there's ways to do it.
There are ways to do it. But I'm saying it's why people do camps. For ADCC, you get like Ethan Crownston doesn't look like he does for ADCC the rest of the year. As an example, like he peaks for that event. Guys go into ADCC in rare form in the best they can possibly. Guys go into the World Championships in the GI and IBJJF in the best they can look. If you beat a guy at a Worlds event,
I think that's different. I think going into Worlds is different because you've got so much build up in the GI.
Okay.
So you have Europeans, which is normally at the beginning of the year, January. You have Pans, which are in March. Then you have Brasileiros, which are normally like April or May, depending. And then May, June, you have Worlds. So you have all of your gi stuff leads up to Worlds in June, but that's like 6 months, right? So it's like it's a lot of refining technique and just like getting the repetition in when it comes to that. I think I think using Worlds is not the greatest example. I think using ADCC or like one of the really, really big no-gi cards would be a better example, because Who's Number One doesn't run like every month or every other month. To say like, okay, these guys are peaking for this. Or when everybody was getting ready for ADCC and when CJI came out, it wasn't like, oh, well, we're not ready for CJI. It's like, no, they were in the middle of ADCC camp, and now it's just turned into, now we're in CJI camp.
Right. I'm just saying, like, what I talk about is the wins, the tournament you beat a guy does matter to an extent. If you beat a guy like, for instance, Orlando Open. Orlando Open's a good tournament. It's a big tournament. If you beat him at Orlando Open versus if you beat him at ADCC or beat him at Worlds, like, he is going to be in better shape, in better prep, like, peaked higher and prepared for a high level of tournament. So you beating a guy on, like, maybe he's on a weird, like, I'm injured, but I'm already registered. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to go in versus ADCC. That is the peak form for a guy. So it's like those wins in my head always stand out higher because of the stakes involved and because of the level of preparation you can expect the athletes to go into. I had a point when I started talking about this. I do not remember what the point was, Josh. So we have kind of the same thought. Nick Rodriguez takes it. Again, watching Kaynan take this would also not surprise me. He's won the first two, but we talked about it at length last week. I just wanted to get Josh's take on this. So let's move into potentially, I understand why it's not the main event. It is very funny that it is not the main event. Luke Griffith versus Victor Hugo. It is funny it is not the main event. Again, Kaynan Duarte and Nick Rodriguez. It's a bigger matchup. It's got bigger star power. It's got more. It's the headliner matchup from a namesake. It is very funny that Victor Hugo is just coming off of his fourth consecutive win over Nick Rodriguez, and he's billed under. And Luke Griffith is coming off of a win over Kaynan Duarte at the Fight Pass Invitational, who he is billed under. It makes sense because those happened for organizations, and Nick Rodriguez and Kaynan Duarte are your bigger names overall in the sport. A bigger fan base.
Fan base?
Yeah.
Somewhat. Well, at least when it comes to Victor Hugo. I think Luke Griffith isn't up there as like that high-level star yet.
He's still young. Victor Hugo's,
they're all still young. But like Kaynan and Nick and Victor are very, very established.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's Who's Number One. If you're watching Grappling, you know who Luke Griffith is.
Yeah.
I just think they have slightly more pull, more star power, I guess, than Luke Griffith.
Nick Rodriguez has an extra ADCC silver.
Yes. And $1 million from CJ.
There is that too. So I just thought it was very funny that it is essentially a weird mirror booking of like the two guys that recently lost to both these guys are above both, and they're not matched up together.
Yes.
That being said, this is a really intriguing matchup. Luke Griffith is coming off of a really good performance at ADCC. He takes silver to Penna in the under 99 kilo division. He dropped down from plus 99 because his teammate, Big Dan Manasuri, was Manasou, a name I can never get. Sorry, Big Dan, was there. They didn't want to be in the same bracket. So they swapped. I actually think the bracket I looked at, Big Dan was in his bracket, so I actually might have that wrong. But regardless, Luke Griffith gets silver to Penna. That being said, it was the weird ADCC year where a lot of your talent went to CJI for your above 80 kilo division. So it was like, the strength of the division was reduced. Notably, Victor Hugo was not in his division. And he might have been in the other division. It's for the sake of this argument, both divisions were hampered.
They weren't there.
Pretty significantly. Victor Hugo's looked really, really good. Luke Griffith has continued to look better and better and better. That recent win over Kaynan Duarte, and even the game planning for Kaynan Duarte, and they talked about it, John Donaher talked about it, they went, late, Kaynan tends to do the thing with his hand, so you can time it, you can get to his back, and it was beautifully executed. It reminded me a lot of the early Gary and Gordon matches, where they were talking about the very specific prep that they did for athletes, even like GSP, like very specific things that their opponent was going to do, that they were going to lead the match into a way and bite on late into a match to get the win. That we know that camp does that. Again, the Victor Hugo camp, Six Blades, and Lovato, we know they do that as well. Like that's one thing Lovato has talked about them doing.
That got announced sort of too. Didn't
What?
It? We didn't mention that Lovato versus Bodoni.
Oh yeah, that is happening.
Sorry, you know how my brain works.
Yeah.
Bring up something and I just start talking about it. We'll talk about it
Is
later.
that on Who's Number One? No, that's on.
That's on one.
It's on One FC.
Yeah.
One Championship.
We'll talk about it in a second. I'm throwing you off your game. I know I am.
You are. This is a game planning matchup. Like both Victor Hugo and Luke Griffith have very similar statures.
They're both big.
They're both big, and they're both big and they're both tall. Like Luke Griffith is an enormously tall man. Victor Hugo is 270 and doesn't have that much fat he carries around.
He could probably be shredded at like 255.
Shredded at 255. Like, again, we're splitting hairs a little bit here. The size we talked about, the Uchimata that he hits on Nick Rodriguez, we were kind of talking on Josh and I in the pre-show, which happened at Wawa today. We were talking about it, and the level of physicality that Victor Hugo can impose in that position, I was curious if we thought he would be able to do that to Luke Griffith, and I don't know if he will be able to from a physical perspective.
Could he? Yes. Will he? Not 100% sure.
Right.
And here's the other thing. We were talking about it because we were like, oh, didn't they have a matchup in ADCC? And then we remembered, oh, wait.
Victor Hugo with CJI.
Who then proceeded to be surprised and lost via leg lock
to
at
Lucas
CJI.
Kennard. Yeah.
So nobody expected that to happen, and it happened. Who's really good at footlocks? Luke Griffith.
Oh, yeah.
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 That camp is
Victor,
pretty good.
But Victor Hugo is also a very good leg locker as well. Like, he's got a great knee bar game.
So one thing that Griffith has over Hugo is that Griffith's training partner, whether he's training or not, is Gordon Ryan. And Gordon
speaks highly of Luke Griffith, which I think is he speaks highly of a lot of his training partners. But like when you hear him commentate Luke's match versus Kaynan, there was something that struck me. It was and it was one of those in the moment things. The way that Gordon was talking about him getting Kainan's back, he was like, "Oh, he's done." Before like the choke was in, and it was something that you would only know if you either see that guy in the room or you have to deal with that guy to know like how good he is at that specific technique. It was really interesting to go,
yes.
Oh, Gordon knows something about Luke's game here that is special or unique, where it's like he's calling it that he's done already. And Gordon isn't a guy that does that a lot. He does it sometimes. He'll
do it with his teammates because he knows what they're going to do. He knows he knows how they train. So he can be like, oh, if this puts me in a bad position and it's me we're talking about, that guy is definitely not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, he does that a lot. But it was specifically in that spot for an choke. Now, can he or will he go to Victor's feet, and can he get to Victor's back? I don't know if he can get to Victor Hugo's back.
Does he just sit down? Does he take on that pressure of Hugo like working around, or does he stand on the feet with them? That's another thing too. Like this match, you wouldn't think so, has a lot of different variables to say like who's going to be the victor, like the outcome of this match. Like my brain says to go with Victor.
Same with here, but it's like, but I like it because Luke has pathways to victory here, which 100%. Is interesting. He is definitely he should be on paper the underdog here.
And judging, I'm not 100% sure if he's back to training or not. You know who else trains with Luke Griffith that has also beat Victor Hugo? Nicholas Mergali.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
interesting.
He's got like...
I kind of forgot about that he's
in the gi.
But also like Hugo's game isn't super dissimilar gi to no gi. The range is a little different. The way he plays the range, the grips, that. Like the guard range is a little different, but he has a lot of the same tendencies gi to no gi in the way that he plays the guard.
Yeah. Again, my brain says to go with Victor. My gut says it's a toss-up. Like I think I want to say that this match will actually be one of the better matches, other than the one that's in 2. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in a second. But this match definitely has like the potential to have like major fireworks.
We talked about this on the pre-show and before. Like, I have flipped my pick back and forth here. Luke Griffith has continued to surprise me, and then sometimes he'll hit a wall where it's like, okay, that's too much too soon.
Yeah.
He's getting to the point in his career and in that camp where I think, and we saw in ADCC, the too much too soon isn't going to happen anymore. Eventually, I think he's a guy that's just going to be the guy. Having this be the matchup and the match to do it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. But I think it's good matchmaking where it's like Luke Griffith can absolutely win this, and I go, oh, like, I am not surprised that he did that. It would be like, oh, it's not necessarily an upset, but it's you beating a long-time established big champion at your weight class that's very, very hard to beat. But the combination of his recent win over Kaynan, the game plan that they did going to that match, he now has Murgali in his camp. He is uniquely gifted in the size that he has in a way that Nick Rodriguez doesn't, which is one of the specific things that causes Rodriguez to struggle so much with Hugo, with how their games match up. Like, Nick Rodriguez just doesn't have the size to do what he needs to do to Hugo to sustain those places that he needs to beat him in. Luke Griffith can do that. It's like, can Luke Griffith pass Victor Hugo's guard? I think that's what this match comes down to, because I think Hugo will eventually be the guard player. I think
maybe
on the feet, I think Luke is interesting, but I think eventually here, we're not going to see what happened to Kaynan Duarte. Victor Hugo's camp is too smart. They know they're going to watch and go, cool, he planned for Kaynan there. They're going to really look at Victor's tendencies, and they're going to go, cool, here's where you need to have your match take place. They're going to do that, and they're going to go, cool, you have the best guard in the world for a big dude. You're going to play guard against this guy. And they're going to look at historically what has troubled Luke Griffith for the guard play. In the opposite side, New Wave is going to do the same thing for Victor Hugo. Hey, he plays guard like this. Here's what you're going to play through the guard. If Luke Griffith can stay diligent and he doesn't have and occasionally in early career he would make a mistake here and there. If he doesn't do that, I kind of think he beats Victor Hugo. I think he probably is able to do more on top. He's younger. As the top player, I think he will take a decision win over Victor Hugo just because he's going to do enough. Victor Hugo's going to throw for an arm. He's going to escape. My question is, how good is Luke Griffith's armbar defense from guard? Because that is something that Hugo is sneaky fast at, and I think we're going to see that. If Luke Griffith gets caught, I think it's by Hugo with an armbar from the guard. Very similar to what we saw Nicky Rod have to get out of. That really, really tight armbar he had to get out of. I don't know
if he catches him lacking, but again, like, they do enough planning, they're going to be like, look at this.
Yeah.
Watch this. Watch what he does.
I think if Victor Hugo wins, it is either decision or armbar from the guard.
Fair enough.
That is what or it's going to start from the guard and be some sequence, man, and triangle at the end. I think if Luke Griffith wins, it is most likely going to be we see him get past, and then we see him begin to work. I forgot how Murgali beat Hugo, but it was in the gi, and it was a very Murgali in the gi match.
Points, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving along.
Do you have a pick here or no?
I gave my opinion. I don't have a solid pick.
Okay.
My brain again says Hugo.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up, but it would also be kind of cool to see, see Griffiths win.
It would be cool.
And then you have a lot of potential matches.
I'm going to circle back to this one because I've already flopped four times.
Back.
Let's move on to so next match we have a featherweight championship match between Elisabeth Clay and Helena Crevar. I'll talk about that here in a second. We'll talk about a welterweight bout first because you mentioned it a second ago.
We can wait. We can go in order. I'm not worried about it. It's not like that match is going anywhere right now.
Okay. Then let's go back to the featherweight match. Elisabeth Clay versus Helena Crevar. This is fun. I'm excited for this match because this is a rematch.
It can be fun. It could also be very boring.
I think it's fun. It would not surprise me to have this match be very boring and very slow. With that being said, I like it because of the storyline in it. Helena Crevar loses to Elisabeth Clay at West Coast Trials 2021 when she was looking good. She was still 15 or something like that.
You mean the former 15-year-old phenom beating the current
15-year-old
15-year-old
phenom?
Yeah.
Elisabeth Clay recently had a match with Brianna St. Marie. She's not St. Marie. It's St. Marie. It just spelled the French way. We went back and forth for like 3 years on it, and we finally I heard her say her name, and it's like it's St. Marie.
I've always said Saint. I don't care if it says STE.
And she dealt with Elisabeth Clay's guard, her looking for the knee bar, her overcommitting for it. Brianna St. Marie came down, got the front choke from there, and finished it with a head and arm. Helena Crevar, you mentioned it on a pre-show. You give me her two methods of victory typically.
Helena normally wins by leg lock or by rear naked choke.
Or by triangle sometimes too.
Main method's rear naked choke.
Yep.
Leg lock of some sort.
Yes.
I think Clay,
or slow decision.
Yes. Clay most of the time is far too savvy to be leg locked.
Yeah, she clears with Clay. That's what she made her name for, as a blue belt. Going into purple. I mean, I remember watching her get DQ'd as a purple belt for that knee bar sweep. Yep. Like it was a great thing in her game, and she's used it now. She's a black belt. She's been a black belt now for a while, and it's a tool we've seen her continue to use. It's what got her into trouble in that Brianna St. Marie match. Was like going for that knee bar sweep, that knee bar entry,
which can again then lead to Crevar getting the back and attacking the choke.
Yes.
So I not see this match going one of two ways. I see a couple of things happening. One, Elisabeth just gets pressured a lot, goes back to what she's comfortable with, rolling for those knee bars, attacking the legs. Crevar, too good at defending that stuff, taking the back, choking. Crevar, or Clay for that matter, somehow grabbing a leg, isolating, and submitting one another. Either or. Or one of the two winning a very, very, very boring decision.
I don't really have any other. You keep going, but I don't have any other kind of comments. That's exactly the dynamics of this match where they're going to go.
I mean, we saw it. What was it, like a month or so ago when Crevar had that fight to win match, and it was somebody that was an open weight match. It was an open weight match. It was somebody that was actually heavier than her.
Yes,
and we saw that the weight disparity caused some issues. And again, we talked about it previously where it was like maybe she was specifically told to work something because she was doing, I'm trying to recall something. She was working from guard a lot. And maybe it was like, hey, try to get the submission from here. And
which we know the new way of done her. They do that. They've historically done that for a decade, more than a decade, a long time.
You know, she got on top. She was pressuring through, but not a whole lot happened. We've also seen Clay have those matches. I mean, we've also seen her have barn burners with like
Fionn
and Vanessa Griffith, where they've had a bunch of back and forths.
Those are fun. They've had a fun series of matches.
But we could either have a 15-minute snooze fest, which I'm hoping that is not the case.
But tactically, it's like
those
are long matches, and both of the women historically don't work at a fervorous pace. They are both slower players that will work in bursts here and there.
If we're talking in automotive terms, they kind of hang out in second or third gear.
Yeah,
like not like really opening it up until it's at that point where it's like time to break this thing, and then it's like quick shifting all the way into fifth.
Yeah. Which is again, it's why these two women are elite, because it's a very good strategy to win matches, especially the longer adult black belt matches.
For sure. With that said, Crevar by choke. That's who I'm calling. I think she's gonna. I'm hoping that she like pressures enough through that Clay, again, just like you've seen her do it before. It's like she just goes back to what she knows, and she'll go for like that rolling leg attack.
Yeah,
and Crevar just takes it.
I kind of think that I kind of think the same thing.
I really hope like I have a curse on me like going where every time I pick somebody the opposite happens, because that would also be hilarious.
You know, it'd be it's a fun matchup regardless. Again,
Yes.
I remember watching their first match at West Coast Trial. I was like Matt side. It was a match going on. This was the match that I stopped and I was like, I want to see how this match goes. And then I remember I was the judge on the mat for a lot of Crevar's World Open matches for ADCC in 2022. The weekend of the World Championships, the World Open. I was one of her judges for a lot of her matches there, so I got to watch a lot of her game. Like I had to score a lot of her game that day. I was like, oh yeah, and like I've had a good chance to watch her game develop over the years,
and it could have shifted already again.
Yeah, I do think that's what's going to happen. I think Clay will go for that knee bar. She always goes for it. I think Crevar and her camp will have planned for it. Again, you always plan for it with Clay. And I think Crevar will have a counter for it, and it will lead to Clay being put into a bad spot.
And I think that's the case also because Clay's guard is really hard to pass. She's very good at recovering guard.
Mm-hmm. Very flexible.
Yes. But when she gives up that position, like with Brianna St. Marie, sometimes it's just too open and she gets caught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going Crevar here. I think Crevar, again, by choke wouldn't surprise me. Again, having Clay get the knee bar also wouldn't surprise me either. She is the best in the world. Her and Oliver Taza at that knee bar, best in the world. But I just think that Crevar and her camp will have planned so specifically for it.
You mean Taza's not in that camp?
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I'm going to get. Mm-hmm. Man, I forgot about that.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's the entry that Taza has used for 10 years now. Not quite. It's a different entry, but it is the knee bar, the style of the knee bar from the bottom is very similar. The entry is different, but yeah, I'm going Crevar here. I think we know that she trains specifically a ton with Taza, one of the best knee bar guys in the world. I think that tool that Clay uses is probably Crevar is probably going to have a good answer for it, and it's going to be a poor style matchup for Clay. Anything else?
Nope. Let's get
moving
on to
the next one. Andrew Tackett versus Fabiuri Christian.
You know who wins this match?
Andrew Tackett.
Us.
Yeah.
Because
I like Fabiuri, first of all, but Andrew Tackett has yet to deliver a match that wasn't like, well, we're talking about that match first. Mm-hmm. He gave us the best match ever with Cade Rotolo and himself at CJI. A match where I was in the stands with the rest of the audience yelling, one more round, and they almost did it. Craig Jones was begging, said, let us do it. And stuff like, no, we're running a professional tournament here. You can't just add another round to it. It's like they're calling for it. No, we can't do that. And both guys were willing to do it after 15 minutes.
That would have been sick.
Dude, it would have been amazing where it's just like, we go again. Like,
yeah.
Andrew Tackett, he is
he's made of pure
my
oxygen.
Favorite guy to watch.
He doesn't get tired. He's made of pure oxygen.
Dude, he's like Marab. He just like, hey man, enjoy the gas.
With better hair.
Yeah, enjoy the gas that I'm going to throw into this match. Unless you are one of the top 5 best guys in the world at the weight class.
The kid is just getting better.
He's getting better and better and better and better. And also, he uses pace as a weapon in a way that unless you are just like Mika Gavau or like a guy on his level.
Even then, that match, like that's something that I 100% want to see.
The rematch of that.
I want to see that.
Yeah, that is the level that you have to be like just physically as an athlete to contend with Andrew Tackett. The way that he dealt with PJ Barch, that match, like when Barch was like, oh shit, like nobody,
was like, I don't know what to do.
Nobody does that to PJ Barch. Nobody does that. Nobody. Like we know how good Barch is, and for Tackett to do that, this is a rough match for, again, I've talked about Tackett a lot. No disrespect for Fabiuri.
Fabiuri's a beast.
He's phenomenal.
I don't think
you have to be able to
anybody
contain
is
him.
ready to grapple gasoline that's been set on fire. Because that's what Andrew Tackett is.
Yeah, it's less. It's not. It is not anywhere kind of diminishing the skill set that Fabiuri has. It's more of just
my guy is pure napalm.
Physical attributes that Tackett brings to any match, and the way we have seen him actually be able to deal with. Like a lot of people arguably thought he won the Cade match.
I thought he did,
and it's very contentious. Like Cade is the best guy in the world. Your former ADCC champion that left ADC to go to CJI, and then like. He is such a weird guy to deal with because usually we're not even talking about the dynamism of his technique. We're just talking about, he beats you with a pace so hard. And then on top of that, he is throwing wrestling and counter wrestling and judo and chokes and arm bars and flying triangles and takedowns. And he just overwhelms you. If Fabiuri can weather that, he will be in rare air to be able to weather that or be able to stand up to Andrew Tackett. I hope he is able to because then we will see a very interesting match for both these guys.
This is going to be awesome. I'm going to be winded watching it.
Yeah. I'm going to go Andrew Tackett here. I'm going to go by sub.
Rear naked choke.
Probably rear naked choke. Just because I think the way that Andrew tends to get around guys has really impressed me recently.
Andrew is going to fix his hair 6 times. That's what the betting lines have to start being. Not that the fact that Andrew Tackett is going to win. How many times is he going to readjust his hair?
He does it a lot. Kind of like reminds me of
over under is 6.
Not Dustin Poirier does it. Who did? There's a guy who used to do it a ton. It was almost like a tick, and I forget. Wasn't like a championship level. Uriah Faber. Faber did it, and then after that, he was after the Cruz fight. He was like, "I'm not doing that again." Regardless, again, I'm amped for this match. I don't have a lot of technical analysis. Go back and watch.
It's gonna be
any Andrew Tackett match and get excited. Again, looking forward to what Fabiuri brings. Again, that being said, it takes 2 to tango. Fabiuri could absolutely make this a slower match. I do not think he will do that. I don't think anyone
it's possible
taking an Andrew Tackett match is gonna do that.
How are you gonna make it a slower match?
Yeah, good luck.
What are you gonna jump guard,
play guard,
and hope you catch him when you do that? How do you make that a slow match?
Probably don't. Next matchup, lightweight bout between Owen Jones and Julian Espinosa. I am amped for this. I love Owen Jones. Owen Jones rocks the Ravens Ray Lewis 52 rash guard as an Englishman. And I love it. So I messaged Owen after ADCC. I was like, "Is that real? It's like Ravens?" Yeah, I was like, "Hell yeah!" Because Josh and I are local to Baltimore, and Ravens is our team. And it is always very funny when you have international talent that enjoys the Ravens. The Ravens is oddly an international team in a funny way.
They've played in England before, I believe.
I think so.
I don't know. I'm not a sports person.
Neither am I. But I like the Ravens. So it was cool to have him rep that, and it's really made a fan. He also had a phenomenal performance at ADCC 2024. His submission over Gabriel Souza was really impressive. His submission over Garaberg was really impressive. Just had a really good run. Looked really good. Julian Espinosa has looked very, very good in the PGF. He's looked very good on earlier Who's Number One cards. We just saw him recently on Polaris, where he had some really fun matches on Polaris as well that really impressed me. I'm going to go Owen Jones here.
Leg lock.
Leg lock. Julian Espinosa is a very, very good leg locker. It wouldn't surprise me to have Owen Jones enter into the legs or Julian enter into the legs, and then Owen from here take an arm. He tends to do something I love a lot.
Oh, yeah. Where he attacks the arm when they're reaching through. Yes.
He tends to do that a lot, and a lot of the new wave guys, like Shazinski, a lot of guys, I've been seeing more and more of the guys that kind of play the style that Owen plays. Inside, high up guard, legs in tight, inversion under, but also will loop his leg wide out. Mm-hmm. He plays that, and it leaves him available to shoot for the armbar when it is there, kind of like Mateusz Shazinski plays. It's a style of inverted guard that as they're coming through, they'll take an arm. Owen does that, and we saw him do it at ADCC. I think that's where this goes. He goes into the legs. Julian is a monster in the legs, very hard to put away in the legs. He can be leg locked, but he's hard. And then Owen is able to go for the arm. Again, Julian is a live dog in this matchup as well.
I just think Owens takes it.
I just think Owen takes it. I really love the submission-oriented game that Jones has. Mm-hmm. And again, I always think back to his performance last year at ADCC.
Even Aiga recently, where he was just like murking dudes.
I think him and Julian were both on Aiga. And like both they've been in very similar circles for a little bit. And honestly, I didn't look up. This might be a rematch. I don't think it is, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was. I like Owen Jones. I like his game. I think he might have had the fastest sub at ADCC as well.
ADCC or Aiga?
ADCC versus Garnberg.
Oh yeah.
But I'm going Owen Jones here. Again, I just like the way that he combos his sub attacks together, and it would be awesome to see, him versus Julian Espinosa here. We have a light heavyweight bout. We have Sandy Ribeiro versus Richie Martinez. This is an odd one. This is, I think, Richie Martinez's first match we're covering since he got hurt at West Coast Trials in 2024. He was on pace to potentially go into day 2, and then he gets hurt. He blows his knee out playing the high rubber guard that he plays a lot, that we've kind of been concerned was going to blow his knee out for years. It did. Versus Sanji. On paper,
this is a blowout.
Yeah. Sanji is multiple-time world champion, ADCC champion. Richie Martinez was primarily fighting in MMA and then moved back into jiu-jitsu after years to kind of with his brother.
Like, Richie's not like a 99.
Is Sanji 99?
Shanji was 88, 99, I think above 99. Shanji and Salo both did a lot of up and downing, but
Richie I think is a 99, under 99.
On paper, again, this should be an absolute blowout.
Yeah.
By record alone, it should be an absolute blowout. When was the last time Shanji competed?
Yeah, we don't see him compete with the degree of frequency.
Well, he technically retired, right?
He retired a couple of times. He did what Lovato did. Come back, retire. Like, Sanji has had a 22-year, 24-year black belt career.
It's been long. If you remember watching Shanji doing judo on the Arte Suave videos, yeah, he's been around a hot minute. And he is a monster. Like, no matter what way you cut this match, this is Richie's most high profile match. Like, find me another match from Richie where he's gone against somebody of this caliber.
I mean, I don't think Craig doesn't have the accolades that Sanji has.
Nope.
Yeah.
Neither in the gi or no gi.
Yeah.
This is a huge matchup for Richie.
The big thing, like you said, is how does Sanji look after a year? I think his last match would have been a year or 2 years ago.
We should really do better research.
Hey, man. It's been a long week. Studio's almost done.
Yay.
Wednesday. I'm hoping.
Shanji is, even now, is more physically imposing than Richie. Richie does some wild shit though. So
Richie has a really interesting high rubber guard low.
He's got amazing dexterity.
Yeah.
His ability to re-guard is amazing. We've seen him just crushed inside control, and then he's like, you know what? I'm doing this jailbreak.
Oh yeah,
and I'm squeezing back in.
We have talked about him in the years for being frustrated at the way that he's inside control. You're was he gonna get out? And then he just out now. You're like, why didn't you do that a minute ago or 2 minutes ago? He'll sit there and then he'll just kind of decide back to guard now.
This is going to be a hard match for Richie. Richie does have pathways to victory if Shanji does not respect his leg dexterity and his unorthodox jiu-jitsu. He will get caught. I will say this: if Richie wins, just retire off of that right there.
Yeah, do it.
Call it a day.
Do what Tim Spriggs did. You beat Kaynan, you're done.
I won this belt, and now I'm done.
But that's, again, Sanji would be a phenomenal feather in his cap.
That
would be
that is
feather.
a great way to go out.
Yeah.
On a great career. I mean, him and his brother have been around for a very long time, jiu-jitsu wise.
I mean, competitive at a super high level for the last 10 years.
For
10
plus years.
Yep.
Right? And not a lot of people can say that. Sanji can. But not a whole lot of people. All of these people that we've talked about, Luke Griffith, Victor Hugo, Nick Rodriguez, Kaynan Duarte, Elisabeth Clay, Helena Crevar, Tackett, Fabiuri, Jones, Espinoza, even people on the undercard can't say.
I'm trying to think who the oldest guy on the main card here, other than Sanji and Richie, is, and I think it might be Hugo, and I think Hugo might be 30.
He's 28.
Is he that young still?
I have no idea, but
yeah.
And that's the thing, both of these guys have had great careers. Shanji's is storied. Shanji's is amazing. And to Richie's credit, he's got Eddie, who's an amazing hype man, who is actually a very good strategist. If anybody wants to go back and watch the Meta Morris match versus Gracie, he was this is what I plan to do. I plan to eat a lot of offense at first, and I'm gonna just dupe him into this, and then I'm going to work this thing. And then,
Bravo's also a really good mat side coach. If you ever hear him, he probably gets a lot of shit for a lot of things. But usually it's not the jiu-jitsu cornering or the strategy going into matches for his team and his guys. There's a reason why his team consistently performs well in the events that they do.
Yeah, for sure. And again, not talking down on Richie. This is a tough.
You're taking on a legend.
Match.
That's been there and done everything. Dynamics of the match, I think we know Richie's going to play guard. It will be a passing game for Sanji. I think he will be able to pass Richie Martinez as guard. I think he will put him in side control. I think he will look for the back here. I think he will look for the rear naked choke. He could potentially take an arm. I do not think he will go into the legs with Richie. I am 100% certain this is a no-gi match for many reasons. I think that he will look for the rear naked choke for Richie Martinez. I think that he will be able to control in top side control. I think Richie will look for the jailbreak, but Sanji will go to north-south to get away from it, and he will pressure, and then he will either look for an armbar from the top, or he will look to expose the back, get the hooks, get the rear naked choke, and that's how I think it goes.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at all of these achievements from Sanji. World Championship in the gi, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2008, 2015. Jesus. No gi World Champion, 2012. First place ADCC, 2007, 2009. First place Pans, 2001, 2002, 2005, 2006. Absolute.
Dude, that's 25 years ago you were the Pans champion. That is wild. Again, but you also kind of consider...
Oh, you ready for this random...
Okay.
This random fact?
Yes, Josh, always.
Sanji Ribeiro has only had his guard passed 4 times in his entire career.
Buchecha?
No. One time at yellow belt in 1991.
Jesus.
Once at brown belt in 1999. And twice at black belt. 2 times in 2005. Once by Hadra Gracie. And once by Braulio Estima.
I remember the Estima one. I remember the Hadra one, too. So you haven't had your guard passed in 20 years. 2005 was a bad year. 2?
Ready?
2 at black belt?
2 times.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the most ludicrous.
You ready for
That's the most ludicrous stat in jiu-jitsu.
Look at his record. 162 and 44. He has 6 submission losses in his career.
At black belt, which is the only belt we care about.
Black belt. Okay, I'm going through trying to... Okay. The last time he competed was apparently at the World Championships in 2022.
Yep, when he retired.
When he lost. He lost also to Ona Flanagan, 3-0.
Okay.
At ADCC 2022.
Yep.
Fight to win, he beat Felipe Trovo. Fight to win, Gabriel Almeida.
We talked
had
about
a
that.
draw against Wagner Hosha.
Talked about that.
He lost to Gustavo Batista. Lost 2-0 to Felipe Pena.
What year?
2018.
Okay, so we're talking almost 10 years ago.
He beat Wardzinski by advantages. He lost to Mergali.
What year?
2017.
Okay, so 8 years ago, when Mergali was a brand new black belt, and Sanji had won worlds.
A shitload already.
17 years prior.
Let's see. He's lost to.
So moving on, Josh, because you told me I was going to run along today. That again, it's a fun matchup. Again, I love seeing Sanji compete. I love seeing Richard compete too. He has a really interesting unorthodox game. Sanji is it's always cool to watch a legend come back and do it one more time.
He's lost to Pena a lot.
Everyone has.
Everyone has.
Who's number one undercard? We have Chris Wojcik versus Michael Esquivel 2. This will be super fun.
Is it 2 or is he Michael Esquivel the second?
What I said 2? I meant to say the second. I
wasn't sure.
Esquivel.
I was like, this is a rematch from something. Good to know.
No, so it's Kaynan Duarte and Nick Rodriguez. No, I think it's Michael Esquivel second. Sebastian Attard versus Colin Carr. Taylor Hillshaw versus Trinity Pun. Tune in for this one. We haven't seen Trinity in a little bit, and Taylor Hillshaw has been looking real good at a B team. What'd I say?
Hillshaw.
There's no L there, is there?
Nope.
Yeah.
And there's no N because I was calling her Taylor Hinshaw.
That will be very fun. I'm very curious how both of them look in this. We also have Ben Eddy on the card versus Josh Weiland.
What time is this supposed to
start? No, it doesn't matter, Josh. You know it's going to run till 2 a.m. It's April 18th.
It says it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time, which means...
Oh, God. It's going to run till like 1:30 in the morning. Oh, no. That's so late. Oh, no.
So that 8 p.m. is the undercard start time. Always remember that. That is the starting time. Oh. Hey, at least it's a Friday.
Dude, I'm going to be teaching my class. And
you'll miss the undercard.
I might not even miss the undercard if it's an 8 p.m. start.
Yeah.
So this is great. Again, for the love of God, who's number one, please run your cards with a 5 p.m. start time. It's jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. It is real hard to get people together for these things when the main event happens at 1 a.m. on a weeknight. This is a Friday at least, but man.
I stayed awake long enough last night to actually watch the UFC card.
I got updates from Simon and watched clips on Reddit of the finals, over the finishes.
The finishes, yeah. Yeah, I actually stayed awake for it. I was like, wow, I am up late.
So, Josh, this is all I got. You have anything else on the week?
No. And again, we talked about it briefly. Tom DeBlas apparently announced Giancarlo Bodoni versus Rafael Lovato Jr. in one.
That's a rough matchup for Lovato.
It is.
I love Lovato.
Love him to death.
That's a rough matchup for Lovato. He's bigger than Bodoni. But
yes and no.
Bodoni always surprised me how big he is. But Lovato, having shaken his hand,
that's a big dude.
That's a big dude.
He is a big dude.
He is bigger than you think he is. And I was standing next to him. I came up to like chest height, and I went, "Oh, you're enormous."
I have a picture of me next to he's not as big as Hodger, but I have a picture of me next to Hodger, and I think I came up to the bottom of Hodger's rib cage. Again, it's those size where you're like, why are you such a large human being?
Yeah, enormous guys.
I feel like that would be the same thing with Luke Griffith. I would come up to
his seeing him in person. Cage. He is enormous. When I was doing,
he's 6'5", right?
Is he only 6'5"? I was doing a lot of the ADCCs, the Opens, as a primary judge in 2024, 3 or 4, around that time. I watched a bunch of his absolute matches because he would usually go at the end of the day. He would be in the absolute finals for the day. Enormous gentleman.
For sure.
So again, Bodoni and Lovato are going at it, and one coming up. Again, a rough matchup for Lovato, but again, just medaled at ADCC, silver medal at 40 years old after his second retirement. Dude, it's not a bad matchup. Like, it was also, he was in a division that was impacted by CJI, but also, hey man, you beat who was there, and you medaled at that tournament after your second retirement. It's a super fun matchup. It's also, I love old guard versus, Bodoni's not really new guard anymore, but kind of like your current younger generation is your champions. We don't get these legend kind of, not necessarily passing the torch is not a good example for this matchup, but these are few and far between matchups. I always really do appreciate when we get them. We get like Amazakazu and Minari versus Marcelo Garcia. It's like, oh yeah, not the same. That's a legend matchup. But like, if for instance we were to see like Marcelo versus Andrew Tackett, you're like, we don't get those kind of matchups very often. Your up and coming, your guard, your new guard, your Cade Rotolo versus Marcelo, like those kind of matchups.
That's how you slow down Andrew Tackett.
You put Lovato on him?
No, you put Marcelo on him.
Oh, I want to see that matchup now.
I mean, I don't want to see that.
Not really, but I could.
Like I
like Marcelo too much.
I love Marcelo. I just don't.
We were talking about Marcelo at the gym for like 20 minutes before we left.
Fantastic human being.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be a cool matchup either way, but yeah, it's like early 2000s versus now.
Yeah.
One of the handful of Americans that's won a world championship in the gi.
One of 4.
4?
You gotta count Mikey twice.
BJ
Penn.
Lovato. Mikey. Shane. Who else am I missing? Somebody else.
You're missing one other guy.
Drysdale.
Yes.
5.
Yeah. Because Drysdale does both. He registers. He is dual listed as American and as Brazilian, depending on the reference that you list sometimes. But he won it as an American.
Are there any other American world champions?
Men, no.
No.
In the last year, I might be.
No, I don't think so.
And then Mikey has like
3 or 4?
3 or 4, I think, because he has the 2.
And we're only literally talking about the men, like
men in the gi. Women, there's a lot of more. There's many more.
Lana Stefanik has won it a couple of times.
Yeah,
I'm pulling the old names out of my hat. And the absolute at that. Do we technically consider what's her name, the one that grew her accent back?
Mackenzie Dern?
Yes. Was she born here or in Brazil?
Ooh.
That's a great question.
I never remember. Regardless, we've gotten off topic, and I don't want to cut anything from this show this week. Josh, anything else? Nothing else? Awesome.
No.
As always in the show, I am your host, Maine, my co-host,
Josh.
And we got the Grappling Rewind. See on the mat what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.